KBC, just to put on record, with their support in 2017, that is the support of our Finance Committee in the Senate, the Finance Committee in the House of Representatives, we were able to cross 4 trillion naira collection for the year 2017. Oil prices are going up. Some people predict it to go to $70 per barrel, but we're saying that even if it goes to $100 per barrel, it will not change our reform agenda and our focus on taxes to finance current and future budgets.
The experience we've had as a country is that it is only when there is a decline in oil receipts and revenues that we turn to taxes and taxation to come to the rescue. I am glad that the executive chairman has said that even if oil climbs up to $100 per barrel, that this engagement, that this reform in taxes and tax administration will continue.
Within the last 6-7 years, I have paid 350 million as tax.
Sights and sounds there for you from the 2018 Management and Stakeholders Retreat of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, which was held in Lagos from Monday the 22nd to Tuesday the 23rd of January 2018. Of course, in one of those clips, you saw Oba Akiolu, the Oba of Lagos, seeing off his guests, senators, members of the Federal House of Representatives, and the top echelon of the taxation bureaucracy in Nigeria. We recall that in one of the last episodes of 2017, we shared with you the story of the 139th meeting of the Joint Tax Board, which was held in Sokoto in the middle of December 2017. One of the high points of which was a courtesy call on the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar. This time around, the delegates to the management retreat were on a courtesy call on the Oba of Lagos. The story of that retreat is the main recipe on today's menu on tax matters. But before then, something that is equally important and time-bound. The deadline for employers of labor to file returns on their employees for the preceding year, talking about 2017 now, expires on the 31st of January. You must have seen notices in the newspapers with regard to this matter. You must have had jingles on radio. You must have seen adverts on TV. We have some newspaper advertisements here with us. We have from Ondo State Internal Revenue Service. We have from the Kwara State Internal Revenue Service. And we have from the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. They are all basically talking about the same thing. So we can just use one of them as our example. In line with the provisions of Section 81, subsections 1 to 3 of the Personal Income Tax Act 2011, all employers of labor in the state, both public and private, are statutorily obliged to file their payee tax returns for 2017 on or before the 31st of January 2018. In addition, Section 41, subsection 3 of the Act stipulates that all taxable persons, self-assessment, that is direct assessment, shall file returns of their income with the relevant tax authority on or before the 31st of March of every year. We are talking here about pay as you earn in the first category, and we are talking about direct assessment, self-assessment for self-employed persons for March 31st, 2018. Any employer of labor that fails to comply shall be deemed to have defaulted and shall be liable to a fine of 500,000 naira in case of a body corporate and 50,000 naira in the case of an individual, in line with Section 81, subsection 2 of the Act. The annual tax returns for employers of labor should contain the following, and you have that on your screen. Pay as you earn annual returns using the format, which is also on your screen. Withholding tax returns for contracts, rent, dividends, etc., in line with sections 69, 70, 71, and 72 of the Act, showing names and addresses of beneficiaries of the withholding tax deductions, the amount, the tax deducted, and nature of service. And of course, development levy on all employees, which also concerns those who are filing under direct assessment, under self-assessment. We must emphasize at this point that personal income tax is guided by residence. That is to say, personal income tax deductions are statutorily required to be remitted to the State Board of Internal Revenue of the state where the employee resides, regardless of which organization he or she works for, except, of course, for foreigners, those who do not live in Nigeria but do business in Nigeria but are not resident fully in the country. Also, officers and men of the armed forces, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army, officers and men of the Nigerian Police Force, and of course, workers, staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. These categories of workers are itinerant, and so for ease of administration, the Federal Inland Revenue Service collects personal income taxes paid from their emoluments. Still talking about personal income tax, there's a second category, the category of self-employed persons, professionals in private practice, either as partners or as sole practitioners, artisans, market men and women, business owners who run their businesses as enterprises, the so-called one-man business. They file personal income tax under direct assessment, otherwise known as self-assessment. In that case, they file in arrears, so to say, very much like companies' income tax, in which case, as we are in 2018 now, they will file a return of their business activities for the year 2017, January to December. Income, expenditure, gains, whatever. And this must be filed between January 1st and March 31st. Of course, if they have employees, those employees will come under pay as you earn, which is the first category. In that case, they should have filed returns on those employees by the 31st of January. But for their own business, the enterprise, the one-man business, the professional practice, the partnership, they have up to the 31st of March 2018 to file.
Every day, my people dey for work. Some dey do office work, some get them own business. So all of them want good road, constant power for better life. Oh, whether na office work, oh yeah, pay your tax. Whether na your own business, oh pay your tax. If you want a better life, oh pay your tax. Na your civic responsibility, pay your tax. Better soup, na money cook am. Oh yes. Nothing goes for nothing, my brother. If you want potable water, security and hospital for make life jolly.
That's right. Good roads, good hospitals, portable water, adequate security all come from taxpayers' money. Play your part in making Nigeria great. Everybody, small scale, big companies, entrepreneurs, do the right thing. Pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS.
Now to the story of the 2018 Management and Stakeholders Retreat of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. The two-day retreat kicked off with a courtesy visit on the Oba of Lagos, Oba Riwan Oshuolale Akiolu of Lagos.
The August visitors included senators, members of the Federal House of Representatives, the Executive Chairman FIRS, members of the Joint Tax Board, as well as very top officials of the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Kabiesi, I'm here with my supervising senators and members of the House of Representatives. Usually we hold an annual retreat of management, but at this time, the first time we have invited our senators, our House of Reps, directors of FIRS, board members, members of the Joint Tax Board, because we have realized that for us to move this country forward, we need to get everybody on board. The Federal Inland Revenue Service collects revenue on behalf of all tiers of government, so the performance of the FIRS also determines the amount of revenue that is divided on a monthly basis between the federal government, state, and local governments.
Mr. Fowler seized the occasion to pour effusive encomiums on Oba Akiolu for the role that the Oba played in what is now generally acclaimed as the success story of Mr. Fowler while he was in the saddle as chairman, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, before his elevation to the exalted position of executive chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service.
I'd also like this honorable and distinguished gathering to know that KBC, my father, played a very important role in taxation in Lagos State. When we first of all took off, we knew that if we're going to change the fortunes of Lagos, it will be through taxation. And we required the support of our royal fathers. And KBC, as the chairman of that council, spoke to fellow Obas and were well received in all the divisions of Lagos State. It even got to a point that when we came to visit KBC, he also asked some of his YCAP chiefs to go around in this immediate vicinity to ensure that everyone pays tax.
This fact was acknowledged by Senator John Eno, leader of delegation and chairman Senate Committee on Finance.
It's interesting to hear the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service commend you and appreciate and acknowledge the role that you played in deepening matters about taxes and taxation in Lagos. I think as we leave here, we leave here with that in mind, and we hope that the example of Lagos can also be demonstrated across the country to see how much the traditional institution across the country can come in handy at this moment of our national development as a country.
In his address, Oba Akiolu commended the 8th Assembly while presenting a case for the granting of special status to Lagos and other deserving states.
The 8th Assembly, I commend you. You are not rubber stamp to anybody. But let me appeal to you in the name of God Almighty Allah. Discuss genuinely the way forward. Sit down with Mr. President. Nigeria now needs good government, good governance, and good leadership. I want to come to National Assembly personally myself to come and present the case for why Lagos State and other deserving states should be given special status. Around 1851, a copy of that document, I'm going to hand it over to the chairman now. The colonial government in charge at that time made a written agreement with the owner of this office that 3% of all income tax will be paid to the Oba, and 2% of any export will likewise be paid to him.
Oba Akiolu then dropped this big one.
By the agreement we reached with the former colonial masters, we are not supposed to pay any tax. That is the holder of this office. But because of what the government will do for the people, health, road, water, and something, within the last 6-7 years, I am proud to say that I, Rilwan Babatunde Usholale, by the grace of God and Almighty Allah, the Oba of Lagos, I have paid 350 million as tax. And the receipt is with me.
Oba Akiolu thereafter presented a copy of the agreement signed in 1851 between the British colonialists and the then Oba of Lagos. Immediately after the royal visit, the 2-day retreat got underway.
Our theme is optimizing tax administration with parliamentary synergy. Clearly, no executive can perform without the understanding, cooperation of the other arm of government. I believe this is the first time that we have had a management retreat with individuals who supervise FIRS directly, and also members of the Joint Tax Board and institutional directors. We believe at this retreat, we will be able to explain in full detail our operations, our strategies, our goals, and also receive from you your own ideas as those in charge of oversight functions over our operations, and also listen to the comments and the ideas of those at the state level. Prior to now, there was a disconnect between the federal agencies and the state internal revenue services. I believe there was this thinking that the federal government wants to take over the operations, but what we have seen in the past 1 year is that in working together, we both do much better together.
Mr. Fowler went down memory lane in giving an account of the collection performance of the FIRS in recent time.
We can all recall that beginning from the second half of 2014, there had been a sustained decline in the global price of oil. Oil revenue generated by FIRS in 2014 was 2.45 trillion. In 2015, 1.29 trillion. And in 2016, 1.16 trillion. However, the oil FIRS revenue generated in 2017 was 1.52 trillion. And you might wonder, how come with declining prices, we were able to generate more tax revenue in 2017? Simply because we put in action legislative, legal, and other forms of actions, and we're able to collect some arrears of prior years, and that is why you have the figure of 1.52 trillion.
Mr. Fowler went ahead to give the reason d'etre for the retreat.
This retreat, and what we hope to achieve, is an effort to ensure that we act differently this time around by looking beyond oil as the mainstay of our economy. Oil prices are going up. Some people predict it to go to $70 per barrel, but we're saying that even if it goes to $100 per barrel, it will not change our reform agenda and our focus on taxes to finance current and future budgets. By putting our hands together in contribution to our set goal, I'm confident that we will surpass our past results and will be well on our way to the future that we hope to achieve, which is financing budgets through taxation.
In his own speech, Chairman House Committee on Finance, Honorable Babaginda Ibrahim, pledged the support of the House to the FIRS.
I want to assure you of our commitment and support in ensuring that your mandates, as provided by FIRS Establishment Act, are achieved. The National Assembly has and will continue to enact laws that will ensure the realization of the fundamental objectives and direct principles of said policy in this country. May I therefore seize this opportunity to congratulate your insight and foresight in organizing this retreat with the purpose of re-energizing the processes and administration of taxes for greater benefit of our beloved nation.
Chairman Senate Committee on Finance, Senator John Eno, delivered the keynote address.
This retreat provides an opportunity for the FIRS management to interact with the members of the finance committees and members, indeed, of the National Assembly and other relevant stakeholders. It's also an avenue of National Assembly members to deepen their understanding of the inner workings of FIRS, as well as have an appraisal of the structural and operational initiatives of the service. It's my hope that at the end of this retreat, members of the National Assembly and management of FIRS will have an improved working relationship with better knowledge on tax administration and tax legislative reforms. My hope, too, is that as we get increasingly challenged by the necessity to deepen taxes and taxation in our country, that we will not just be waiting for there to be an economic downturn in our country, such as we experienced at the middle of 2014. The experience we've had as a country is that it is only when there is a decline in oil receipts and revenues that we turn to taxes and taxation to come to the rescue. I am glad that the executive chairman, in his opening address, has said that even if oil climbs up to $100 per barrel, that this engagement, that this reform in taxes and tax administration will continue. The hope and the expectation is that as we get back to Abuja after this retreat, that National Assembly members that have had a chance to attend this retreat would have become more and more familiar to what the service does, and therefore, that if matters about the service come for the National Assembly, that those of us that are here would be able to provide some kind of support base for a greater understanding of what we need to do to continue to assist the service.
To set the tone for the two-day retreat, several papers were presented, each followed by robust interactive sessions.
Our functions principally is to assess, collect, and account for tax to the federal government of Nigeria, and taxes collected under the federation account are shared between the trust of government. A bee collects nectar from the flower without hurting the flower. But there are circumstances where it may require you as a tax officer to apply the law, that after speaking your grammar, after begging the taxpayer to pay the tax, and you refuse to do that, that you need to exercise the power given to us by the National Assembly to ensure that these taxes are recovered. Without the power to back and bite, the FRS is useless. Prior to now, this power had not been fully exercised. But under this present government, the FRS is everywhere. When we talk to you as a taxpayer, you refuse to listen to us, we come after you. So presently, there is enforcement of tax laws all over Nigeria. People's properties have been sealed up. People have been taken to court and charged to court for tax evasion. We are no longer satisfied with having the laws in our papers, as mere paper tigers. We are now enforcing the laws under the powers the National Assembly gave to us to enforce tax laws. Then FRS has power to restrain taxpayers of their goods, chattel, land, bonds, securities for the purpose of recovery of tax. This is one area that the current government is doing very well. We are saying that you cannot refuse to pay tax and still be enjoying facilities provided by government.
Law is dynamic, and this is especially so for tax laws. In other climes, you always have a finance bill at the beginning of each year. And this is true for our colonial master, Britain. You cannot envisage any year without a finance bill. It creates opportunities for specialists who will be advising on the various reform and the impact on how they have been doing their businesses and all that.
Over the period 2015 to 2017, the service collected the sum of 11.07 trillion. Out of this collection, as alluded to in the morning by the chairman, oil taxes accounted for 36%, while non-oil taxes accounted for 64%.
Last year, we collected 972 billion in terms of VAT, but we believe sincerely that we could do much more than that if we have the cooperation and the buy-in of the states and the local government in remittance of their VAT and withholding taxes. What this administration has done is what every other administration over the world is doing. We try to leverage on technology. In the office of the Accountant General of every state, we have a solution that they can use to ensure automatic collection of VAT and withholding taxes when they are paying their contractors. Currently, we have 28 states on that platform, and as the last check, we have collected close to 8 billion using that platform. Now, that was because the buy-in into that platform was towards the end of last year, particularly after the intervention of the Honorable Minister of Finance in suspending budget support for some of the states. We got them to come on board. We're convinced that in 2018, with active utilization of that platform, we will be able to achieve our target on VAT and possibly surpass it.
Because of time constraints, fuller stories of the agenda-setting retreat will come to you in subsequent episodes of Tax Matters. In the meantime, we want to congratulate the management and staff of the Federal Inland Revenue Service under the able leadership of Mr. Batunde Fowler for a sterling performance in 2017 and the assurances of our best wishes for 2018. From Chiamaka.
Remember, deadline for filing of payee tax returns for 2017 is January 31st, 2018.
And of course, for those who are filing under self-assessment, that is for those in self-employment, the deadline remains March 31st, 2018. And of course, the grace period for the voluntary assets and income declaration scheme also ends on March 31st, 2018. Do have a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you for watching.